When I started this company, the very first thing I did was make my employees owners. It's real simple. Owners sweat every detail. When I do business, I want to work with people who care as much as I do. That's why I rent cars from Avis.
Avis is the only major rent-a-car company owned by its employees, and they're trying harder with a 49-step quality control program to give you a well-maintained car.
Nobody works like an owner. Nobody cares like an owner.
With great service and low rates at Avis, we're trying harder than ever.
When you own your own business, you sweat every detail.
Avis is the only major rent-a-car company owned by its employees, and they're trying harder with a 49-step quality control program to give you a well-maintained car. Avis, we're trying harder than ever.
Joining me to talk today about how to make this fantasy a reality are Charles Freeman, Regional Administrator of the Small Business Administration, and Richard Worth, CEO of R.W. Frookies Incorporated. That's an $18 million cookie company. Richard, I want to start with you. We are talking about Frookies here, of which we have several kinds out here, and I hope you leave them after the show. Another few people might be interested in them. But how did you get started, and where did you get the idea for this? These are cookies sweetened not with sugar but with fruit juice?
They're sweetened without sugar and sweetened with fruit juice. And the idea came to me when I was doing Sorrel Ridge Jams and Jellies, which I founded in 1978.
Sorrel Ridge, it's the all-fruit, no-sugar jam. I've had that before.
That's right. The idea came as a consequence of the success of Sorrel Ridge. What I look for is a hole in the line. In the marketing line, the consumer has a demand, and if it's not being met, that's what I look for.
And at that point, you had cookies that were full of fat, full of sugar, and the health food trend had started up, right?
If you walk down the aisle, all you'd see in the cookie business was fat, sugar, preservatives, etc. And I said to myself, listen, if people want a jam without sugar, they certainly want a cookie without sugar. And simply that simple realization and the adherence to that realization started R.W. Frookies. So in 1984, while still being the president of Sorrel Ridge, I decided to come up with a name for this new concept. Now, it was pretty simple. There's fruit and there's cookies. Now there's Frookies. We sweeten it with fruit. In 1985, I sold Sorrel Ridge. It started to work on R.W. Frookies. I guess the most important thing when you have an idea is to turn it into an inspiration and a dream. Because on the way you can take lefts and rights, and people like to make you do that. It took 2.5 years in terms of product development, recipe development, capitalization to actually come out with a product. During that time, I had a company that I called The Next Step because it was my next step. The Next Step consulted with other food companies. And so therefore, in the summer of '87, and basically, we came out with R.W. Frookies, the Good For You cookies.
18 minutes past the hour. All this week, our money editor, John Sayre, is going to introduce us to some great American success stories. They're all rich, but that's not all they have in common. Good morning.
Good morning, Paula. They're all self-made millionaires. They didn't inherit it. They didn't win the lottery. They did it with dreams, drive, and sweat. This morning's millionaire says the key is offering something different, like his cookies that are sweetened with fruit juice instead of sugar.
I want to have more people eat Frookies than cookies.
You can't spend much time with Richard Worth before he starts gushing about his flagship product, Frookies. Not to mention Frackers, Fruitins, and Frisps. The mantra is fat-free. Worth is the guru.
Part of being an entrepreneur is that you are obsessed with the dream. You always see it in front of your head. You can't go, it's like the most wonderful curse you've ever met.
This man with the multi-million-dollar curse is a far cry from the Richard Worth of the 1970s. Convinced that money was evil, he started living off the land on a farm in Canada.
I thought I would live in concert with nature and that money would not be a factor. The problem with not having money and not making money is that poverty isn't so fun either.
Worth changed his course after his son Jonas nearly died during a difficult home birth. To improve his children's futures, he says, he set out to make a buck from his blueberries.
I said either pies or jams. They're going to be jams.
So he started making jam, sweetened not with sugar, but with concentrated fruit juice. He named it for where the berries grew, Sorrel Ridge. Worth argues that it wasn't enough to be good. It had to be clearly different from what the industry giants were making.
If you don't make that distinction, you're going to compete with them, and you're not going to win because they'll drown you in dollars. And in sugar, of course.
Oh boy, Audrey, they thumb up. Sarah, you've been keeping score. Who's our winner? Well, the winner here seems to be Cool Fruit. Sarah, we need to give it an award. Okay. We do have a winner. All right. And I would like we want to give the Home Show Nutritional Snack Award to Cool Fruit. To Cool Fruit. All right, Cool Fruit.
Our hidden cameras bring this startling practice into the open, and we'll take you behind closed doors to show what manufacturers have to do to get their products to you. As Brian Ross discovered, in the grocery industry, money talks. And that can mean higher prices and fewer choices for consumers like us.
Once upon a time, there were cookies, and then there were Frookies. And what we wanted to do was make a cookie that was better for you than regular cookies.
And at first, Frookie seemed like a sure thing. But now, more than 7 years after New York businessman Richard Worth first introduced his line of cookies made with fruit juice instead of sugar, Frookies, it's still hard to find them on the all-important cookie shelves of most grocery stores in this country.
And you're not here. No, I'm not here.
You had all the Chips Ahoy and Oreos you'd ever want. No Frookies, right?
Yes, we have no Frookies.
And the reason Worth says there are no Frookies in some 2/3 of the stores in the country is that he can't afford to pay the necessary millions in what has become a kind of grocery store payola, little known outside the industry, that has pretty much put an end to the days grocers would actually taste the product to decide what to put on the shelf.
This is a place in America that you don't necessarily earn, but you buy.
It's not good enough just to have a good product?
No, it's not good enough.
You got to buy your way onto the grocery store shelf.
Absolutely.
Just imagine yourself upside down in an airplane, water rushing in, and you can't get your seatbelt off. That is exactly the nightmare that 4 people were able to survive in Biscayne Bay this afternoon. News Force John Crane picks up their frightening story.
Coast Guard, Roger. What is the status of the plane? Over.
The seaplane was upside down in the water, and so were its passengers just a few minutes before rescue teams arrived.
We survived when we shouldn't have.
Right.
Rich Worth, his wife Randy, and the pilot were able to escape unharmed. A 4th passenger had to be airlifted to Jackson Memorial Hospital with head and leg injuries. With the plane's cabin submerged underwater, there were some scary moments before the group was able to break free.
I was like this, trying to get my seatbelt off. And every once in a while I'd look up to see whether she had air or not. And she was having less and less air, but I knew that I was dead. Or at least I thought so.
They were on their way to vacation in Broad Key, just north of Key Largo, when apparently the seaplane pilot attempted to do a touch-and-go maneuver on the water.
We were just coming down the bay, and the minute we hit, it just banged and flipped. But he had the landing gear down. That was the problem. The landing gear was down.
The pilot, Robert Carswell of South Dade, has been arrested and charged with reckless flying. Apparent fun and games in a seaplane taken a bit too far. John Crane, News 4, Biscayne Bay.